I'm kind of like an open book kind of person within reason, but for the most part, I'm an open book. You okay over there?
Yeah. For some reason, there's like something down here by my foot, and I don't know what it is, and it was bugging me.
Oh,
Sorry to distract the viewers out there, the
yeah.
all two viewers that we have.
Oh, I mean, our family watches and
Some.
maybe listens too. So we're talking about communication. This is part 2.
Live your life within the moment. And don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away.
I don't know if this is like anybody else, but like if I'm going to go and buy, I don't know, anything that's substantial, right? I'm going to go and buy a new piece of technology or a new phone or a new car. Let's say a new car. I'm going to research the car to get to know the car. The car's not going to talk to me because it's not Kit, but I'm going to
It's not Kit.
get as much information about the car that I
Herbie.
can. Herbie didn't talk. He beeped, didn't he?
Yeah, I guess.
And his doors open and all that. But
Yeah, he
Kit
didn't
actually talks.
Oh, I don't even know what Kit is.
Oh, okay. Well,
Did you just date yourself?
I probably did, but
Okay.
I don't think anybody would be surprised by me saying that.
Really?
Like
I'm surprised.
David Hasselhoff. There was actually a commercial the other day. What was it? There was a commercial a few weeks ago on one of the, maybe I was watching football or something, and there was a commercial with David Hasselhoff and Kit.
I don't know who
Okay.
either of those
I'll have
people
to show
are.
it to you later. Anyways, I'm going to research.
Car?
Yeah, it's a super cool car.
Okay, back to your car analogy. That the car doesn't talk.
The car doesn't talk to me, but I'm going to go research the car. So the same thing. I'm going to research, not stalking and creepily, a person that I want to date, but I'm going to communicate with them to get information to find out if we're compatible and if we have the same likes and dislikes and life plans, kind of, I guess, because there's not going to be the same, but am I acceptant that she wants to do this, or is she going to be okay if I want to do this in life, or that kind of stuff, whatever those things, because everything's not going to be perfect, and there's going to be
differences.
Well, yeah, but there's going to be different roads people travel on, but as long as you're on the same road together, moving the same way, everything's going to be fine
at the same speed.
At the same speed.
This
back to cars.
This
I guess
metaphor is like real driving it home.
Dead.
No, that was good. That was a good metaphor. So with communication, talking about the responsibilities of it. So like you were saying, one of those responsibilities is to kind of do your research, and in understanding the other person, right? The way we're taught and how we learn to communicate as children, and then in our households, and then how we learn to communicate in adult relationships, and then how we learn to communicate within marriage. So there's a lot that's being brought into the communication. There's a lot of history that's being brought into every time we communicate. And the longer that you know somebody, hopefully, the better you're going to know them. And so you can communicate more efficiently.
And listen, we have, as you know, been married for almost 15 years now, and we are no experts on communication, but we have healthy communication, and I don't know what it's going to look like when we're 50 years of marriage. Like, is it just ships passing in the night, or are we still going to be able to communicate and still learn from each other? I don't know. I'm sure.
I hope we're still going to be growing, learning, and
communicating. I am sure. But like you see, like the older relationships where they already know that person's morning routine and this routine and that routine, and like everything is just inherently just indoctrinated into themselves of what the other person's going to do. and say, so they just don't communicate. I don't know.
Okay.
Tangent.
That just really depressed me. So that won't happen to us.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
Okay.
Cool. Cool. Good. Glad we had that talk. But the responsibilities within communication. So I have a responsibility to communicate to the best of my ability how I am feeling. And then to trust you that you are going to then receive and hear and actively listen to what I'm saying so that then maybe you could understand me and where I'm coming from a little bit better, right? And vice versa. You have a responsibility. I can't be expected to read your mind. I mean, I usually can read your mind, but I can't be expected to read your mind and your nonverbal cues if you're not communicating to me. So I think the responsibility of communication is equally put on both people that are in the relationship. And the other thing with responsibility is when you are the person that's receiving and listening, actively listening, you need to put on the cloak of choosing not to be offended and looking at it from this person has the best of intentions and is on my side when they're talking. And when we have been that you're talking together, not that you're talking at the person or you're talking down to the person. And I think, like with me, when you have trauma from your past and trust issues and stuff, it's you have to do a little bit more work to say, okay, this person has the best of intentions and is on my side and means well with whatever they're saying. And so to put yourself into that mindset as you actively listen is, I think, the responsibility of the person who's going to be listening, just as much as there's a responsibility as a person who's going to be speaking, communicating.
Totally agree. And it's like we were saying before with, to tango or whatever that analogy is, but your communication history and past and current and like you're your own person
Yeah.
with how you communicate. And I am my own person with my own experiences and life lessons and traumas or whatever, and how we communicate and how I communicate. And we need to merge those together like our parenting style and communicate.
Yeah.
And it starts from the beginning. I
Mhm.
keep going back to that, I know, but it starts from the beginning and it doesn't let up ever, even if you're 50 years old
That's right.
or 50 years of marriage. Let me just say that. And I still we still take date nights, me and Anastasia here. It should be more frequently than we can, but life and stuff. But every time we do, it's we go out and we're not on our phones researching anything unless it's trying to plan something for us to do later or something. But typically it's
talk.
active listening and communication with each other about how the week has been, what we're expecting the next week, what we're going through, if we're going through something, or what our dreams are going to be with the future, and how we're expecting or not expecting, but how we're thinking we're going to get to that dream
Mhm.
of doing something. And in typical fashion, we have all of these ideas, and God pulls a rug out or changes our course or our heading or whatever, and now we're on a different path. But then we reconnect. And this isn't just like we communicate like this on date nights, but every day we have like quick little meeting communication chats or whatever,
Check-ins.
check-ins.
How
But
you doing?
yeah,
How you doing?
but I would say every single day we have a conversation about something significant, I would say, if that's a good word, I don't know, but
It's a good word.
importance of our lives, my life, her life, our kids, somebody's life in our family, and how we're going to navigate that and how we're going to understand it and figure it out and go from there. I mean, that's an everyday occurrence, multiple times a day, in fact. So
Yeah. And I think those check-ins are good. Date nights, super important. If you are married and you are not having date nights and you have kids, get on that. Get on that wagon. Get on that train.
dating, just like communication, shouldn't stop when you're married.
That's right. Definitely not.
There's a wise word.
That is. That was a good wisdom nugget from Aaron. Okay.
So communication, open,
Mhm.
active listening, active speaking,
Responsibilities.
responsibility, humbling yourself, humility, because
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but I know I'm not perfect.
Oh, I thought I was.
You're practically perfect in every way. So just basically we're all human and nobody's perfect. And, errors are going to happen, but choosing to not be offended about what that person is saying is an active choice as well.
Yes. The vulnerability of communication. So being vulnerable, which is a difficult thing for a lot of people. Again, especially if you have a past where you had been vulnerable and that was not received well. Or you grew up in a house where you weren't allowed to be vulnerable, you weren't allowed to communicate what was actually going on. So let's talk about that for a second. How would you go about having good, healthy communication if that was not modeled to you or you were not raised where that was something safe, or you had somebody walk out on you when you were vulnerable? And so you feel like you have to have those defenses up. I think
Are you asking me that question?
Yeah, I am
Oh,
asking you that.
I thought you were like just kind of posing a question for
I am posing a question, but
randomness. So I don't know because I don't have experience with that, but my thought would be is excuse me. My thought would be is there are some resources out there, books and podcasts. You could possibly take some, some speech classes in college or in a local university of some sort, or you could also communicate about what you're feeling
and what your fear is.
and what your fear is to the other trusting person
Mhm.
so they know that how they say something might be received in a different way than what their intention is.
Yeah, or it's almost like you would need to, I think, have a pact, kind of like what we've done. Um, is just having this pact where you like say, okay, there is nothing that you could say that you could communicate, again, with responsibility, vulnerability, and openness. There's nothing that you could communicate that's going to make me go, that's it for me. I mean, she just told me sometimes she thinks that, I don't know, the earth is flat. I don't know. Like, whatever it is, to just know, I think that's important for the
Yeah.
person that is maybe has more fear around communication, where you've been programmed to not communicate, or you haven't seen that modeled in a safe, good, healthy way. Does that mean your marriage then is doomed or your communication is doomed? I don't think so.
No, it's a work in progress. You have to work at it. And it's just like anything you do in life and in marriage. There's going to be those trials. There's going to be those learning froms. There's going to be those, I'm going to say it. And if I messed it all up, then I'll try it again. Not try it again, but try to figure out how I messed up or communicate to you like, hey, I messed up. How did that, like, make you feel? Or how could I have done that better? And then
Yeah.
learning from mistakes. Cause like I was saying earlier, like we're all humans and we make mistakes. So learning from those mistakes, but you have to have that trusting, open communication.
Yes. So if you're listening to this with your spouse right now and you're recognizing, we need to work on our communication, which we all need to work on our communication. It's not like a place you like arrive at. Um, and you're really recognizing that right now, then this would be a good opportunity to just talk about it. That's why we say this is good to, or I say, watch this or listen to this with your spouse, because things are going to come up that you're going to go, huh, that's something maybe we want to talk about or implement, or that we haven't talked about. So giving yourself permission to start over, to kind of say, you know what, we've both said things that we didn't mean, that we regretted, whatever. We've had bad communication. Um, let's try this again, and doing that pact of saying, hey, you're not going to lose me if you tell me something or you communicate to me something. And so I think that helps with the defenses and also with that fear that I know I have felt many times, which is usually why um, a person will try to manipulate or bring up the divorce card, um, because you feel unheard and you feel like I can't control anything. So here's what I can control. And being able to be honest with yourself and knowing yourself enough to say, oh, I recognize I do that. And why do I do that? Maybe there's some trauma there, which, again, firm believer in therapy over here. Like, therapy's your friend.
So just like there is no taboo subject when it comes to healthy communication with your loved one, there's also no secrets, with the exception of one. There's only one secret you're allowed to keep.
Really? What is that?
From your spouse.
What?
But you should get everything out of the closet, the proverbial closet, and everything should be out on the table, especially prior to marriage and commitment of a life like that. But the only secret that you're allowed to keep is what you're getting as a gift from anniversaries and birthdays and Christmases. That's the only secret you should be able to keep from that person.
Okay. Even then, we're still not very good at keeping that.
No, when you have a joint Amazon account or a joint bank account and my card's being used for a place that I don't usually frequent.
Yes. Okay. I like that. That's the one exception.
I did.
To the rule.
Here's a little part of communication. I did have an account, a separate money account for those reasons, to, let's say, hide where I'm purchasing gifts from. So this, inquisitive person over here wouldn't know what I'm getting.
I still sniffed it out.
But that led to a little bit of a trust issue.
It did.
And why are you keeping money from me? Not money from me. That sounds really bad. Why are you keeping something from me? Because we have, and all the way up to that point, we were, what's yours is mine, what's mine is yours. We're in this together. There's no secrets between us and blah, 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 blah. But then after buying gifts for her, because she's got really clever ways of getting things for me. I don't know how she does it sometimes, but actually I probably do. She can't tell me her secrets, or you probably. I don't know. You might have to tune into a different podcast. The Better with Anesthesia. No, not Better with Anesthesia. That could have been it too. That was
Bold
funny.
and Unafraid.
That one. She might be able to tell you there. But I have other ways of doing it. But at the same time, like, we were totally on each other's trust page and everything. And it wasn't like I fell out of trust with that. It was just like, what's going on here? Like, why do you have a card with a couple $100 on it? It wasn't anything like thousands upon thousands because,
That would have been a really great surprise, though. I
well,
would have been like, "Oh my gosh, you have $10,000
Yeah,
stashed away.
that would
That's
have been
wonderful."
fantastic. That's why also, I mean, that's a whole nother subject in finances and bank accounts and all that fun stuff, but that's
Yeah.
not for this day.
No.
So communicate. Don't hide stuff
Don't keep
unless it's a birthday
secrets.
present
Don't keep
or
secrets.
Christmas or anniversary or Valentine's or whatever other holiday that you celebrate giving gifts or presents to,
Mhm.
then that's a secret you should keep
Okay.
until you give it.
Yes.
Everything else, talk,
Talk about it.
communicate, openness.
Talk about things you like to do. Okay, so that was a little South Pacific song, which you probably don't.
I do
remember
know
that.
because you
Oh,
had me watch it.
okay.
Part of our learning and understanding where the other person comes from and thinks.
You
and-
have your hand on the end recording trigger.
I don't.
Yeah,
My hands are right here.
you just did.
Nope.
And I just want you to know, I can see it.
Oh, you can.
Okay. So,
I'm worried that this camera's shut off.
all right. So you're don't worry about it. Don't stress about it, baby.
No stress.
So you're going to talk to your spouse now. This is great. We're going to welcome you into this safe space after just talking now about communication to communicate. So if you are scared,
And if you want to record it and then add it to the comments, no, don't. I'm kidding. This is for you two to do, not for us.
you don't have to
Don't
start
listen.
a podcast unless you want to. You don't have to record it. Just sit down and communicate and share your heart. And if you need to start new, to start fresh, to just say, you know what, let's just, the last 10 years have just, we have learned some things. We've said some things, done some things. And just, you have permission to start over and to start fresh. If it's only been 6 months or a year, this is a great time to get out a piece of paper or a notebook and to jot down, hey, this is going to be our little pact that we're going to have where this is a safe space. You get a talking stick. I get a talking stick.
And if you have a joint calendar, which we do, so our lives are not double booking and
that's
creating
helpful.
commotion.
Yeah.
But we have a joint calendar, so I add stuff and she sees it, and she adds stuff and I see it, so we don't double book, and I don't have to call her and be like, hey, what's going on the 5th of November or whatever, like we already know because it's in the calendar, as long as we put it in there, which is work in itself. But put date nights in there, or put, not even going out to date night, but like, hey, Friday night at whatever time you choose, or whatever day that you can choose in time, or whatever, for an hour or two or whatever, you're going to sit down with your spouse or significant other and talk about whatever you want. And if you don't have anything that comes up when you're making those dates or those appointments, if you will, something will come up. You're not going to just sit there across from somebody and stare into their loving eyes and do nothing
unless you do that.
Unless you do that, which is a form of communication, I
That
suppose.
That is a form, the nonverbal form. So yeah, I think that's good. Like having a calendar and putting it down, making it a priority, being intentional. I think making your communication in your relationship a priority is crucial. And being intentional about what you say and being intentional about what the time that you're allotting. Don't put 20 minutes in on the calendar and expect you're going to be able to have like a good heart to heart.
And likewise, don't like think, oh, 5 minutes. Okay, we're good. Like have the long conversation,
especially to the guys.
Bring up the deeper, like don't just get an answer and say, okay, like expand on that answer, like get some, like dig in deep. What's going on with like why on that? The who, what, when, where, why is on every question almost. If you have to, oh, we just got change of color. That's cool. I don't know how that happened.
It's because the light died.
Oh, well, now it's a pink, red.
Uh,
Okay, anyway, so yeah, get in to the deeper parts of that. Don't just be accepted of a accept. Don't just accept. Expect a little. Just don't accept the answer. Talk about that answer.
Yeah. Be vulnerable. Dig in a little deeper, like Aaron was saying. You gotta dig a little deeper.
What musical is that from?
I can't remember right now,
Oh.
but it's from something. You gotta dig
Okay.
a little deeper. Okay, so this is good. You're going to get a joint calendar. Here's some takeaways.
I mean, you don't have to, but it's helpful.
It's helpful.
It's
It's
helpful.
definitely going to help with communication. You're going to at least sit down with each other and put in some date nights where you are going to actively listen
And communicate.
and vulnerably communicate. Yeah, it's going to be great. And if you need to make a little pact ahead of time because you've been hurt, and give yourself time. Nobody's perfect.
And another thing to add to that, I know we can add more and more and more, but
we keep doing that. We're like, and then
I know,
another
and then,
thing,
and then
and
because
then
all these good
this.
ideas start flowing through your head. But when you make that appointment, date night with the other person, take it upon yourself to be ready, like you're going to a job interview or something. Like, be ready to talk about something. Don't
Mhm.
just show up expecting the other person to start talking. Like,
Have
come
some
up with a
notes.
few items.
Talking notes.
Some talking points. No.
We could do a whole podcast one time on just like talking points. Because that might actually be a legit thing. You might
Okay, but we're not going to do that today.
not have had. Okay, we aren't. You might not have had though that experience or know how to do that. So talking points are good. We'll do one on talking points. All right. So as we're going to close this out on communication, because I feel like we could communicate about this forever, truly, but our camera lights, everything's dying. So touching on it, be vulnerable, be open, be honest. If you need to do a pact, do a pact. Share your heart. Listen actively. And don't expect yourself or the other person to be perfect. And remember, you have an entire lifetime to do this together, to communicate. And like Aaron was saying, no subject is a taboo subject or is off limits, and no secrets.
And to close it out, I am just going to say my final words.
Final words. Okay, let's hear 'em.
Is communication is not a goal or a endpoint.
Okay.
It's an active journey. You are consistently learning and taking in what you're supposed to be doing doing by body language, but saying. So it's a journey. Your communication is a journey, ever evolving learning journey to be able to communicate, not just with your spouse, but to your children and to your parents and to your neighbors and your friends and
Your boss,
the
and your
greeter at Walmart
coworkers.
or whatever, like it's a communication journey that you're on.
Mhm. That's good. And be more self-aware. Get to know yourself, because you have to know yourself to be able to then know somebody else and communicate to them. And the last thing that I'm going to say, which now I forget what it was. That's great. There was something. It was going to be good. Okay. So thanks for tuning in with Better With You. And we are Aaron and Anastasia Halcomb. And we're signing off. End recording.
Bye.
Bye. Babe, I remember what I forgot to say.
What?
Have fun with it.
Have fun with it.
Have fun with it. Communication is supposed to be fun. So have fun with it. All right. That's it. Bye.
So let us dance this night away.